George F. Duysters was an American lawyer born around 1858. In 1890, he represented the New York Giants in a contract dispute with pitcher and manager John Montgomery Ward. His assistant, a certain Mr. Camp, asserted at one point she was in spiritual communication with dead writer Frank R. Stockton. He married at some point and died in New York in 1909, that being all I was able to find out about him, aside from his literary works. In 1894 he published his first work of fiction, A Senator at Sea, A Story of Mine and Thine, a story critiquing laws of private property by having a party of rich travellers washed ashore on Cannibal Island and claimed as property. Sadly, it appears to be an allegory and have a good ending, so there's a promising idea shot down. In 1896 he published his only other work of fiction, Opals from a Mexican Mine, under the pseudonym Georges de Valliere, later reprinted as Our Lady of the Waters under his own name. The opals represent stories from post-colonial Mexico, and all of these are melodramatic to a degree. The greatest of the gods is Quetzalcoatl, has an Aztec woman, still secretly following the worship of her ancestors, who falls in love with a Christian Spaniard. When he falls ill, she goes to the priestess and asks her to heal him, but she will only do so if the woman gives herself to another. She agrees, but in the end poisons herself. In The Water Lady, Don Vincente comes into the city of Concepcion, where he uncovers the diary of Don Fernando, who has apparently fallen in love with the witch's daughter, who can stay underwater for unspecified periods of time. In the end he disappears, leaving behind a notebook and a few silver dollars. The supernatural here is muted, but is written rather skillfully. The vision of Don Juan on the Piedra de los Angeles has a foreigner in a Mexican cul-de-sac go to sleep on a rock which is reported to be the meeting place of angels, and also all who sleep there lose their soul. The man indeed has a strange vision of all the women he had ever loved and abandoned for some reason or another, until one comes up which he does not know. She is the perfect woman, and she tells him they are destined to meet some day. In the morning he wakes up and finds the entire village huddled round the stone, preparing to take away his lifeless body. A word of warning, these last two stories are tedious to the point of narcosis. As for The Mysterious Disappearance of Mrs. T. Tompkins Smith, sweet, contrived, and unadventurous melodrama, how we've missed you so. Your sweet way of turning a wholly stale conversation into an exciting experience, your daring ignorance of actual psychology, and of course, how could I forget, your wondrous habit of ending before anything happened. Put short, Mrs. Smith meets an old flame in Mexico, finds out she had no reason to be jealous back in the day, and lets herself be stolen away from her rich husband. Cosmopolitan Mexicana is the longest story in the collection, a tedious melodrama about an American falling in love with a woman in Mexico. He has to duel his childhood friend for her love, the friend to whose mother he made a promise to save him from harm. The woman somehow uses her will to manifest a vision of herself to him during a fight, and makes him win. Most of these stories are melodramas, and only the first three are worth reading.